如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停，就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。我们开始吧。
Everybody wants the win. Nobody wants the blame. People say that like it's a joke. But the old phrase "pass the buck" was never born from a joke. It came from a dusty table, a cold room, and a group of men who feared one small object more than losing money. This story begins in the early days of poker in the American West. Picture a long wooden table, a lantern hanging low, cards soft from too many hands, voices rough from wind and whiskey. Players sat in a circle, and trust was thin. Cheating was common. Everybody watched everybody. So the group needed a simple way to keep the game fair. They used a buck. Not a dollar bill. Not a coin. But a small knife with a handle made from a deer's horn. That handle was called a buckhorn. And people shortened it to buck. The buck sat in front of the dealer. Whoever held the buck dealt the cards. If someone didn't want a deal, they pushed the buck to the next player. A small motion. A small excuse. A small escape. That simple push is the beginning of the phrase "pass the buck." But the story hits harder when you imagine the people around that table. A man who already lost half his pay. A kid trying to look older than he was. Someone with tired eyes who didn't want the pressure of dealing. Their hands didn't always shake because of the cold. Sometimes it was guilt. Sometimes fear. Sometimes the sinking feeling that dealing meant being responsible for every card, every mistake, every angry look. People didn't want that weight. So they pushed the buck away. Again. And again. And soon, "pass the buck" meant something bigger than cards. It became a way to say, "It's not my fault. Let someone else handle it. Don't look at me." The phrase followed people out of the card rooms, down dusty roads, into towns, into families, into everyday life. It became a quiet habit. A common move. A human move. Everyone has done it. A kid blaming the broken window on the wind. A worker saying the missed job was someone else's task. A friend who swears they never agreed to help. We've all had moments where the truth sits heavy, and pushing it away feels easier than holding it. But here's the part people forget. Back at that old table, sooner or later, the buck always landed in front of someone who realized something important. You can push the buck only so far before it circles back. And when it lands in front of you, your hands stop shaking. Your breath slows. You see everyone watching. And you deal. Because no game moves forward until someone stops passing the buck. Maybe that's where this story touches you. Maybe you're facing something you've been sliding to the side. A hard talk. A late decision. A promise you forgot but don't want to admit you forgot. Maybe the buck is sitting right in front of you in a way only you can see. The old poker tables are long gone. The lanterns are cold. But the buck is still here. And the question is simple. Do you pass it, or do you deal?
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目。如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞，或者留下评论，这对我很重要。我们下个视频见。